Welcome to Gay Fairfax, the capital area's only weekly gay entertainment magazine sharing news, views, and pride. I'm Dave Hughes.
And I'm Michelle Michaels. Each week will feature events and personalities of interest to gay men and women in Northern Virginia.
On this edition of Gay Fairfax, we'll find out why cosmetic surgery is the hottest thing in beauty secrets.
We'll also find out what's going on in the Maryland gay and lesbian community of Prince George's and Montgomery counties.
But first, here's Peg McCraw with this week's gay trivia question.
Homosexual lovers in the movies have always been portrayed as non-demonstrative, asexual people who display their love for one another through lingering glances. But there have been a few exceptions. Can you name 5 movies that featured on-screen kisses between 2 gay women or 2 gay men? I'll be back with the answer.
Thank you, Peg. Cosmetic surgery has always been a controversial and expensive topic. But with new technological advances, it's now becoming more accepted and affordable. Barry Forbes recently spoke with Dr. J. Howell Tiller, an area plastic surgeon, about some of the new techniques available.
J. Howell Tiller, thank you very much for joining us on Gay Fairfax today. We're delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
You're a plastic surgeon. You practice in the Washington area, and you have a practice comprised of both gay patients and straight patients alike.
Oh, yes.
And I wanted to ask you here today because I want to talk a little bit more about plastic surgery and also about your practice. So how long, first off, have you been practicing in the area?
I've been in private practice for 3 years. What brought me to the D.C. area was 3 years in the Navy out of Bethesda, and I decided to stay around for private practice.
Well, what brought you into cosmetic surgery?
It was a gradual type thing. Just a broad range of plastic surgery and all, burns, congenital defects and all was the first interest for me. And, but over the years, I've just decided to limit myself to cosmetic surgery because I feel it's a challenging area of plastic surgery. It's also a fun area.
Well, good. You have to enjoy what you do as well.
That's right, exactly.
Well, it's very important for people to look good in order to succeed at many things. And that's, I think, where cosmetic surgery perhaps is most important, because people have to feel good. But, of course, there are other congenital problems that also have to be compensated for. What kind of cases do you deal with on a regular basis?
Well, that's true. You know, many people knows that they aren't satisfied with a congenital defect, if you would. It may look entirely normal, but it doesn't look good to them. So it's not easy to put things into congenital and cosmetic. It all goes hand in hand many times. But generally the type of practice that I see is people who want to improve their self-image, as you talked about. In this world where there's so much competition in the marketplace, there's competition for self-competition, I guess you could say, of making yourself look as good as you think you can or should. And it is the biggest part of my practice, those type of people. And particularly with all the information, the lay press, TV, magazines, etc., people just have come to realize, rightly so, that plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery is safe. Most of the times it gives good results for people. And it's neither that expensive nor that hard to go through.
Now, many people think that gay people, gay men particularly, are perhaps more conscious of their physical appearance than the general population. Do you find that to be so in your practice at all?
No, I think it's a stereotype that just doesn't hold true. I don't think gays are any more or any less aware of their self-image or desire to look better than they look better than any other person. Admittedly, it's not part of my history, so-called, I mean, per se, but I just can't see any difference in any type of person who comes to see me for it, gay or straight.
Well, what types of things actually come to you for? What kind of facial, primarily body surgery? What else? What kinds of things do you actually help people with?
Well, any type of cosmetic that might come up, whether it be facial refiguration or body contouring. Popular things nowadays, of course, are liposuctions, the ever-popular liposuction. I guess it's most common, too, because it's so applicable to a wide age range, from the early 20s on up to the 70s or whatever. Something that I've become more involved with, that I received my training out in Beverly Hills with Dr. Burkhalls, the developer of the subpectoral or implants or the chest augmentation in men.
Yeah, I first saw that, in fact, on Entertainment Tonight, when they're talking about some actors and some models about that. Is that becoming the latest trend in cosmetic surgery, just one more in your variety of services?
That's right, just one more. And it's really not a new procedure. The implants are a little bit different, a little bit of technical points are different. So when you say it's a new procedure, people sort of stand back and they're scared away from it. Naturally so, I think, but I emphasize that it's not a really new procedure. It's just a different application. I think the newest thing in that respect is there's a new set of aesthetic principles. Certainly when we're talking about breast augmentation in women, it's an entirely different set of cosmetic principles, in other words, how that person should look, than doing essentially the same procedure on a man. He expects and wants something almost entirely different than women.
So it's primarily the same process for women and men for augmentation?
It's essentially the same procedure. It's the same type of material. In women, it's a silicone gel many times, or a saline, in other words, a soft implant, usually one on each side. In men, it's a more firm, as a chest should be firm. It's a firm implant, and often we use 2 or 3 implants on each side. But putting them beneath the muscle or in the chest is the same technique, and the recovery is very similar, very little.
Is there any restriction of movement or awkwardness in such an implant?
No, certainly not once it's healed.
How far can you go? Can I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger if you hit me, build me up, you know, a chest of 50?
I can make your chest look however you want it to look, essentially. But of course,
I'll just fall on my face most of the time.
Right. You don't want to look too big.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, no one does, bigger than their natural body shape. Certainly you should have some muscle development there, because it's important for a muscle to cover the implants and make it look natural, more natural. But I think the main thing is to contour the chest such that it fits in with the rest of your physique. Certainly in a bodybuilder, I'm able to put in much larger implants than a person like myself, who is quite thin. It just wouldn't look right. Men overall are becoming a greater percentage of my practice. I think it's because the information out there has shown that plastic surgery can give good results with a minimum of recovery time, because men are apt to not want to spend a lot of time in recovery. They don't want people, more often than not, to know that they've had plastic surgery or surgery of any type. So as our techniques have become a little more sophisticated, the anesthesia is a lot better. Men realize that they don't have to go through the old-timey type recovery that it takes.
How long a period of time does it take? For example, from the time that I appear at your office, for example, for the first checkup, through the whole procedure, the operation itself and recovery, how long a period are we talking about, really?
Well, I'll take probably the longest recovery procedure we do is, as far as visible changes, would be something like a facelift. And every plastic surgeon differs a little bit depending on their personality types and how they react to patients. I like to see everybody at least twice prior to a procedure. What we are doing is taking a healthy person who just wants something improved a little bit, and we're exposing them to the risk of surgery and anesthesia. So I like to make certain that we know what their expectations are, that they know what to expect, and then go on. So a couple 1-hour visits, usually spaced about a week apart at least, and then I can schedule, depending on the time length it requires. For a facelift, it takes about 4 hours to perform, so schedule at least a week or 2 down the road. And the recovery for say for a facelift, it's usually done, as most of my procedures are done, on an outpatient basis. You go in the hospital in the morning, go home in the afternoon. Facelift requires about 4 or 5 days away from work, mainly because of swelling and bruising. Liposuction a couple days, subpec augmentations, either for men or women, a couple days.
Well, how much can you really do? If I gave you a magazine picture of Mel Gibson and said, I want to look like that, you would say, right, go down the street, there's a hack I know down on.
That's right.
How much can you really do, particularly with the face? I mean, you have basic bone structure you have to work with it.
Exactly. I have had a few patients who have brought in pictures of, nice-looking guys or women, and they want to look like that, but that just rings a little bell goes off the back of my mind that, this person may not be the best candidate for anything.
If they're not happy now, they'll be happy later.
That's right, exactly, exactly. You got to work with what you got. And that's why I say that you can't say that person's had a nose job that, you know, that nose isn't yours. That's not true. The nose you have, even after surgery, is your nose. It's just changed a little bit. And the same thing with, like with a facelift. The basic foundation is yours.
What really is the price range for, let's say, eyelid or chest augmentation? What are some of the range of prices that you work with?
It is expensive.
So I have to be movie star expensive. Anyway, right? Wealthy person.
Well, it is expensive.
Gay Fairfax exposure is not exactly movie star status, so I can't help you there.
Well, most plastic surgeons, I mean, I do have some people that you probably recognize, but I don't say names like that. That's silly, of course, because like I mentioned before, any plastic surgeon, myself included, considers every patient they have a movie star or a big name, because they're as important to themselves as Marilyn Monroe was to herself. So everyone is important. But it is expensive. Blepharoplasty ranges around $2,500.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, blepharoplasty, eyelid surgery.
Sounds awful, whatever it is. I don't...
Eyelid surgery sounds better. Okay. You're right. Blepharoplasties run around, the surgeon's fee, around $2,500. Hospital fees probably run around $1,000. And for myself, that includes evaluation, follow-up, and even if touch-up surgery is required that we both feel is necessary, that includes it. Others may or may not do that.
And it can run right up to 10,000, 25,000, 100,000. Do the whole body. I want a complete remake.
It can run up. It can run up. Facelifts are probably our most expensive procedure, and it runs about 5,000, with a hospital fee of around 12 to 1,500. Well, let me just go through the whole procedure of that. Of pectoral implants, if you don't mind. The subpectoral implants are solid silicone material, which are placed beneath the muscle merely to give it a bigger look. And incisions made up under the arm, so the incision is entirely hidden. One of the best we can make in cosmetic surgery.
Is there a good incision? I don't know.
That's a good incision.
Okay.
It's good. The implants are placed in about 2 hours of surgery. You have a wrap placed, which stays in place for about 2 weeks, a shoulder wrap. After 2 weeks, you go back to pretty much your regular activities. But you look good almost immediately. Minimal swelling, minimal bruising.
What's the downside of that? There has certainly been some information in the news about women's chest augmentation. There's some negative physical things going on. What are some of the worst things that you've heard of?
That's with silicone gel. These are.
You don't deal with just silicone gel?
No, not in men. I don't deal with silicone gel at all, period, anymore, even in women. These are solid silicone implants. They don't break up, they don't dissolve, they don't migrate. So the biggest risk for this procedure, as with any procedure that I warn people about, the main primary risk is the result, being happy with the result. And
that seems to be the whole purpose.
That's right.
Be happy with yourself, with your image, and go out there and do what you think needs to be done.
Exactly.
Well, Howell, thank you very much for being with us on Gay Fairfax. I'm sure that your patients feel very comfortable working with you. I certainly enjoyed this time with you myself.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. Appreciate it.
Join us, won't you? The Fairfax Lesbian and Gay Citizens Association is a community organization which fosters a sense of camaraderie and spirit among gay people. FLGCA sponsors a variety of social events, fundraisers, as well as community and political projects.
For your free copy of the FLGCA newsletter, write P.O. Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia 22152, or call us at area code 703-451-9528. Don't put it off any longer. Join FLGCA today.
If you live in Maryland and thought you were out of luck in finding a gay and lesbian group, well, think again. Dorothy Hirsch met with the leaders of the Prince George's and Montgomery County's gay and lesbian groups. She found out their history, upcoming events, and special projects. We'd like to share them with you.
With me today are Brian Scott, a Human Rights Commissioner from Prince George's County, and Ed Marks, a Montgomery County openly gay activist. Welcome to Gay Fairfax.
Thank you.
How do you get a start in politics? How did you get your start?
Okay. Well, I started out quite a few years ago when I was involved in the Maryland Young Democrats. I was elected president of the Maryland Young Democrats when I was in college. And then went on to a number of things, including a former Southern Baptist minister, and came out and accepted my sexuality, and then eventually formed the Gay Lesbian Christian Fellowship, and then after that went into some political issues with gay rights issues, just because of the sense of injustice and that there was one standard for many other groups, but not the same standard for gay people. And then there was a call from the county executive's office asking me if I would be interested in serving as a human relations commissioner in Prince George's County, and I decided to accept that. And from that, was appointed by the county executive, Paris Glendinning, and confirmed by the county council, and became the only openly gay elected or appointed official in Prince George's County, one of the only 3 openly gay elected and appointed officials in the state of Maryland.
Ed, why don't we get you into the conversation? You are retired from the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee.
Correct.
And you've been in politics for 20 years. How did you get your start?
Oh, I don't know. I guess when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I used to read the newspapers, and I started volunteering for campaigns. I had no idea about my sexuality back then. When I went to college, I got active with the Maryland Young Democrats, and my career reached a crescendo when I helped manage Brian's campaign for president of state Young Dems.
And he won.
And he won. By 4 votes, I might point out. And, but I was involved with a lot of issues, which I think brings up a point. I think one of the most effective things a gay person can do is get involved with a wide variety of issues that affect their community. A gay person is many things in society. He is a consumer. He may have an ethnic, a religious background, a professional career, and all those should be brought in. A gay person also has specific community interests to the geographic area they live in. After being active in college, I got active in the local Democratic Party and was a precinct official. And later on, I was appointed to the Silver Spring and Wheaton Citizens Advisory Boards, where I was working on growth and planning issues, which affected gay people as much as anybody else. I was appointed to a vacancy on the Democratic Central Committee in 1985 and ran for a full term in '86, and I became head of the entire precinct organization. And in that capacity, we raised a lot of money for the Democratic Party and helped to get good candidates elected to public office, and also to build a good volunteer grassroots organization as a force for good government. When I came out, and I was 33 when I came out, I was a late bloomer, I could add gay issues to all the other things I was doing. And because I had a good reputation in Montgomery County politics, and I had credibility, and it's, okay, well, he's gay, and that's fine. He's done all these other things. You know, that doesn't change our opinion of him. And most people are very accepting.
Great.
But I didn't dwell on it. It became one more issue to work on.
And I think with both of us, I think what has been helpful is being involved in the Democratic Party establishment, knowing a lot of the elected officials, and then they learn about this other part of you, but they've known you in other capacities, and that helps being a little bit less shocking, because oftentimes being gay is somewhat shocking if that's all they know, and it's very important to try to emphasize, particularly if in the gay movement we're going to have success in the suburbs, in areas like Fairfax, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. We're going to have to move beyond just gay issues into issues that affect all citizens, whether they're gay or lesbian, black or white, or whatever the group happens to be.
It's worth pointing out that the people who are gay, who have the most stature, both in the gay community and out, are people who got elected to public office not focusing primarily on gay issues. And these are the most effective people like Congressman Barney Frank, Congressman Jerry Studs. They didn't get elected running on gay issues. Basically, Jerry Studs' expertise was merchant marine and fishery issues. And Barney Frank's was taxes and other kinds of human rights issues. But those issues never came up until much later in their careers. They already had very well-established reputations. It's really, I think, very self-absorbed, and to simply focus and say, well, I'm a gay candidate, And that's all I'm going to run on. And those people, not only don't they win, but if they did win, they wouldn't be very effective because their entire thrust would be very self-serving, I think. That's right.
So you're Montgomery County, you're Prince George's County. How do you guys work together? What kind of coalitions do you build between counties? What?
Well, there is a civil rights coalition group that is called the Free State Coalition for Justice that is working with and has worked with the General Assembly. It's only probably about 6 months old. And it includes groups like the Lesbian and Gay Democrats in Montgomery County and the Prince Georgians for Equal Rights, which is the group that I founded in order to help further the lobbying efforts for our county civil rights bill, as well as for the state hate crimes bills, which were before the General Assembly. So that's basically the networking forum where gay and lesbian organizations sort of combine their efforts, which would be similar to the Virginians for Justice kind of organization that is here in Virginia.
What are some of the, I guess, the long-range issues that you would like to see, I don't know, enacted? Civil rights, I don't know what.
Well, in Prince George's County, when I came on to the Human Relations Commission, one of my goals as a commissioner was to make sure that the civil rights of all citizens was being protected. One of the things that I found on the commission was that sexual orientation was not part of the Human Relations Code or the Civil Rights Code of Prince George's County. Now, the reason why that is important is that a governmental commission or a civil rights commission cannot arbitrarily decide which citizens they'll protect and which ones they will not. They have to have the authority of legislation. The legislation has to usually come from local jurisdictions on this because there is no federal law right now that protects gays and lesbians in the civil rights area. So in Prince George's County, we're not the first, but we're one of the jurisdictions, and if we are successful in passing this, then that will help other jurisdictions like Fairfax and other parts of the Washington suburban area and other parts of the country.
The more communities that pass this type of legislation, the more legitimacy it gives the issue. If Fairfax County sees Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Howard County, Baltimore City, they're going to say, well, we can consider it too. There's a bandwagon growing. And that's what you want to create. And the more communities that do it, the more mainstream the issue looks. I mean, 20 years ago, this was considered a very exotic issue. I mean, this was very new, and even people who were more liberal didn't even want to talk about gay rights. And now it's a mainstream issue, and that's because community after community started to address it. First on the more progressive communities, and now communities which are more mainstream or have a mixture of people.
I think it's very important too in Prince George's County. One of the focuses is that quite often the papers will say, well, this is a gay rights bill. We never use that phrase. For us, it's a human rights bill. You don't see a bill affecting women's issues or affecting other minority groups and say this is a women's rights or other kind of rights issues, which is really counterproductive. It's basically what we're trying to do is to make sure that gay and lesbian citizens don't have special rights, but have the same rights as all other citizens.
And
when you allow the terminology to be gay rights, then it appears to the public that we're looking for something special when that is not what we're looking for. We're looking to be treated the same way that all the other citizens are being treated, both on a national as well as a local level right here. And that's the philosophy that Prince George's for Equal Rights has. We've been successful, and right now we have a majority of the council members. If the vote were held today, we would have almost a unanimous vote from the county council. That's because we've tried working. We've spent a lot of time working with the county council members, with the political establishment, making inroads, and that takes time. That takes process.
The other issue we're working on is crimes against people on the basis of their sexual orientation. Most areas protect people if they're the victims of a racially motivated crime or religiously motivated crime. For instance, if somebody puts a swastika on a synagogue or burns a cross on a lawn, they can be prosecuted specifically because that's a crime of bigotry. And we believe that crimes directed against people on the basis of sexual orientation should be similarly protected. Right now, most communities are not adequate in that area, and there was a bill at the state legislature which unfortunately did not pass this time. We'll be working to try to get passed next year.
Well, thank you for coming to Gay Fairfax.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you do with this week's gay trivia question? Here's Peg with the answer.
You may want to visit your local video store for these. Once Is Not Enough, a kiss between Melina McCurry and Alexis Smith. Making Love, Michael Aunt Keene and Harry Hamlin. Personal Best, Mariel Hemingway and Patrice Donnelly. Death Trap, Michael Caine and Christopher Reeves. And my favorite, Desert Hearts, with Helen Shaver and Patricia Charbonneau.
Well, that concludes this week's edition of Gay Fairfax. Now, don't forget to tune in next week at this time. For Gay Fairfax, I'm Michelle Michaels.
And I'm Dave Hughes. Thank you for joining us, and remember to keep the pride alive.